everyone, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. Today's video is all about the new Ranger alcohol lifting. You may have seen Tim Holtz's demonstrations at Stampaway a couple of weeks ago on our channel, and I wanted to show you some of the ideas that I'd come up with using alcohol lifting. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to show you some of the cards that I have been making. I haven't added sentiments to these yet, but I got as far as mounting them up. So this was one of those blue Misty Haze backgrounds that I created in a recent Ellen Hudson video, and I'll link that in that top right hand corner for you, how to create something a little bit different with your inks. And I used the Pinkfresh Studio floral background, and this was actually my first attempt, so I didn't leave it long enough, but I kind of like that look. And if I lift it up, you can see there's a kind of silhouette look in the background there. And then I also created that second print with the leftover ink, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that. My next attempt was with this beautiful sort of orange and reddy coral piece, and this was my second print. I used this beautiful Glorious Bouquet stamp set that I had bought from Stampers Anonymous. I've had this stamp for a while and I always wanted to use it and I couldn't find the right project, and this was perfect. But I also love how they give you, as part of the package, a big acrylic block to use with this big stamp, because not many blocks are going to fit this stamp, and it also happens to be kind of the profile of that stamp as well. So if you do buy this one, you will get that included with it. And this was just a strip from where I was playing around that I've mounted up onto a card. I'm going to put a big sentiment over here as well. Now, once I really kind of got in my groove with this, this is the other piece from that orange one. Sorry, I'll show you that first. So I used the corner here on a standard card front, and I used one of those offcuts on here, and then the ink that's going to be left on our stamp was the one we created there. So I created 3 cards really easily just with one alcohol inked panel. And then I created a few other ways you can do it, and also when things go wrong, how you can kind of still use those panels. So this was the main one. The print looked very similar to this one, and this I used using an alcohol ink smushing technique, which is about to be in a video next week. I'm really excited to share with you, but Tim also kind of shared some ideas about it, and again I'm going to link that video in the top right where Tim talks about how you can do that on this glass mat. You just lay your alcohol inks down, you can spritz them with isopropyl alcohol or put drops of blending solution down, and you can drag your paper through it just like you would with distress inks and water, and you can create gorgeous, gorgeous backgrounds. You can kind of see all of that movement in that panel there, and this is on Yupo paper. So this was where I removed the alcohol lift ink, and then from the removed ink I made 3 cards. So this was one of them. So I love how this came out. And then I also managed to get a couple of lighter prints that I then stamped that floral image. So that's still this Glorious Bouquet. And I stamped it out over the alcohol ink. It's kind of just got a tint of colour. If I lift this up, you can see here how I just have tints of colour. So it kind of looks coloured in. And this one's even lighter because it's my final print. So again, you can get lots and lots of prints just off of one piece of alcohol inks. You can use these alcohol ink panels just like a custom kind of ink pad and things as well. So many different options of things you can do. So let's have a quick look at how I created these pieces. So I'm going to pick out my MISTI, and I'm going to pick one of these backgrounds. So these are all backgrounds I created using that same alcohol kind of smush technique. And so this is similar to that blue one I showed you. This is using some really pretty rainbow colors, and you can see in there how that's picked out. And I also added the foil in certain places too. This again is one of those same techniques, and again you've got almost like a galaxy feel to it, like a really pretty night sky and things. And I really love almost this kind of, I know it went a bit muddy, but I kind of like that effect, how it all sort of dribbles down on there. Then we have another one, and this is the one I think I'm going to pick out and play with you. And so I've got the oranges and some greens and some blues. Again, a beautiful galaxy background. All just putting them down on my glass mat. Because it's a non-porous surface, I can then just go in and I can pick up those different areas. This is another option that you have as well. So you can see that on there. And then this was another of those MISTI ones that I linked up that Ellen Hudson video earlier on. So we're going to need a few different sheets of Yupo paper. So I'm going to grab my packet here. This is the new heavyweight Yupo from Ranger that I've got here. You can use any Yupo you'd like. You could also use glossy cardstock. So let's grab our MISTI here. I'm going to grab my piece of Yupo paper. And so first of all, you want to put inside your alcohol inked piece. We're going to then pop in our floral bouquet. And so I'm going to have to kind of put this somewhere in the middle. It would be ideal to have my MISTI corners, but we're currently in the process of redoing my studio, so I don't have those to hand. So I'm just going to go with it like that. Also need to take my foam mat out. Don't use rubber stamps often enough to remember. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to pick up my stamp, and we're going to use alcohol lifting. So this is a new pad from Ranger. Of course, I've linked everything in the description below for you. And also do check out our Facebook page, the Hedgehog Hollow on Facebook. We also have a crafty sales group. So if there are ever any coupons to any of my favorite stores where you can buy all these supplies, they will be posted in there as well. So be sure to go over and join that group. There's also a re-inker available for this pad. So I'm just going to make sure I've inked it thoroughly, because you don't really know until you've done it. And I have to admit, I am a CPR stamper. If you've watched Tim Holtz's things, he always mentions us CPR stampers who feel the need to kind of give our stamp lots of compressions and things everywhere. I can't help it. It seems to just be in my blood. So I'm just going to leave it there for a second, just because I find I get a better impression that way. It doesn't need to be any amount of time at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to peel this off, and I'm going to put over the top another piece of Yupo. I'm going to put that off to the side while that alcohol lifting works. And whilst it's working, we're going to, you can probably see here that I've got some of that colour onto my stamp. It's lifted that colour off. So I can now stamp it down and create a really pretty background. Okay, so now I can lift that up, and so you can see there I have all of those oranges and blues, all of those absolutely beautiful colours are in my stamp and on my stamp. So particularly as I'm working with rubber, I can get multiple impressions really easily. Sometimes you can get even another stamp with some detail on it. So let's have a go with that too. You do need to work reasonably quickly with the alcohol lifting. You have about 10 minutes to kind of work with it. So you want to make sure you get all your prints done in that 10-minute time frame. So you can see there I've got a second stamp, also lots of detail, a little bit lighter than the first one, like a second generation stamping thing on there. And then I'm going to grab another piece of Yupo, because I can get that beautiful kind of wishy-washy watercolour background that I can then stamp detail over it. So I'm using every little bit of ink that is on my stamp. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get down any ink that wants to go onto my piece. And the great thing about Yupo is it's double-sided, so if you make a mistake, you don't like what you've got, all those things, you can absolutely do that. So I could just move this out the way, and I have another really light one that I could stamp something over the top of, and I've made a pretty background paper. Let's leave that there for now, and then I can show you how I make this other one. So I have a Nouveau Lightness bottle. You might notice by all of my scribbling all over it, it has alcohol in it. I'm going to just make sure there's some in the nozzle. So this is just isopropyl, 91% alcohol, and I've given it a really light mist. I've actually misted from way over here and just let that mist kind of pool on top, so that when I stamp it down, it's going to lift out any ink. This is a really easy way to also clean the stamp, because this is the only way to take that alcohol ink off of it is with more alcohol. Your general stamp cleaners are not going to cut it for this one. But you can see there, I've kind of got all of those beautiful colours in. It looks a bit watercoloured. And then I can stamp over the top with black ink, and I'm going to get all of those amazing colours just kind of shine through like I did on these here. And it kind of just looks like I've coloured it in. And then I can use a really nice bold sentiment to go over the top. So far I have 4 prints off of one stamping. And so now we're ready to work with this one. So again, I'm going to give it a quick rub over. I'm then going to peel these 2 pieces apart. So I have this lovely background on here, and then what I did on my other one is I actually made it a little bit more wishy-washy. So just by a small spritz, that's going to make it kind of go all over the place. It makes it go a little bit mottled, but that's how I got one that looks like this. So once it's dry, it looks like that, and you could stamp over with the black. You do not have to spritz it at all, but I kind of like the more abstract background texture that that gives you. So there's our 5th print. Then we're going to take some kitchen towel, and we are going to now go over the top of our lift ink. So I start kind of by dabbing, minimal rubbing, because otherwise you're going to rub that alcohol lift ink all over the place. I did go a little bit overzealous over here, so I like to kind of do the dab technique. Find, particularly with a detailed stamp, you're going to get much more detail by doing the dab technique. But that is a really detailed stamp, and I'm still getting all of that detail in my alcohol lift. So I'm just going to lift this up for you so you can see there how I've got my beautiful floral, and even though those colours are really pretty intense, you can still see how, like here, I have that beautiful flower and the leaves are in there. I'm trying to pick out, there's a gorgeous rose just here as well. So lots and lots of things. So I have 6 prints from one piece of alcohol lift. So you can see here how much you can really get, and from each of these large pieces you can usually get more than 1 card as well. So lots and lots of tips and techniques in there. As I mentioned, I would now stamp over this with the black, and then I'm going to get the same as these 2, so then it kind of looks all coloured in. And because I use deeper colours on this one, I've got those darker colours that you've got in here, but it all looks like kind of one of those impressionist watercolours on there. So thank you so much for joining us here at Hedgehog Hollow. I do hope you've enjoyed this tutorial with lift ink as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stamp the bell, and we'd love it if you gave us a thumbs up. I'd love to also know if you've worked with the alcohol lift ink, and if you have any tips, don't forget to leave your comments below. We love to read your comments, and we try to reply to as many as we can. I hope to see you again very soon. Don't forget to check out those links in the description. Happy stamping! Bye!